Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswati Ji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. There's so much to learn from Ganga. Let's start. We'll see where we get, because one of the things we learn from Ganga is just to flow. One of the most beautiful teachings of Ganga that Pujya Swamiji emphasizes over and over is that Ganga gives and gives and gives with no hesitation. Ganga never says, I don't think I feel like flowing today. No hesitation. No discrimination. She doesn't flow for Hindus and not Muslims, or Jews and not Christians, or Indians and not Americans. She flows for all. So no hesitation, no discrimination, no expectation. On our side, we're performing her arti, we're praying to her, we're loving her, we're serving her. Somewhere else, they're dumping their trash in her. But she doesn't flow more for us than for them. Ganga doesn't say, if you do my arti, if you pray to me, if you call me Ma, if you bow to me, then I will irrigate your fields. Then I will give you water. No expectation. And no vacation. Ganga never says, sorry, let the field get parched. Let the field dry up. I'm on vacation. You could see my secretary. I'll be back in a few weeks. That dies in the meantime, let it die. And this is such an important lesson, because for us, when it comes to giving and giving and giving and serving, we have hesitation. I don't know, today I'm not quite up to it. I haven't yet, done the things I need to do. I'm not sure. I've been giving so much. I've been serving so much. Maybe I'll just sit this one out. So we hesitate. We discriminate. It's so much easier to serve to those who appreciate it. Those who love us. Those who say, thank you, you're the best. We take vacations, of course. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not that these things are evils. It's just that when we're sitting on the banks of Ganga taking inspiration from her, we take this inspiration as well. How can I live like that? Without the hesitation, without the expectation, without the discrimination. For most of us, it's so much easier to give to those who are like us, to serve those like us. We have compassion for those like us. A few years ago, Pujya Swamiji and I were flying from Lisbon, Portugal to Tenerife in the Canary Islands in Spain. And the flight went Lisbon, Madrid, Madrid, Tenerife. Coincidentally, on that day, in the morning, we were supposed to fly in the afternoon. In the morning, there was a crash at the Madrid airport of a Spanair flight. So the whole airport was shut down for many, many hours. All of the people on the plane had died. So, of course, inevitably, we were quite delayed. But by the time, when we get into Tenerife the following day, it was a full day late, the people were devastated. It was all anybody could talk about. The flight had been either coming or going from one of the Canary Islands as well into Madrid. And wherever we went, what everybody wanted to talk about was, can we have a prayer for the 150 people who died? The questions that everybody asked were all about how could this happen, karma, these sorts of things. And everywhere we went, I would ask people, did anybody here know anyone on the flight? No one did. And after a few days of this, I actually became really upset. And I went to Puja Swamiji. And I said, I'm having such a hard time with this. I said, because here we are, 3 days into a trip. People are still paralyzed almost, in shock, in grief, in fear, in mourning, of these 150 people who died, not that they knew. And yet, every single day, tens of thousands of children are dying of starvation, when we actually produce enough grain to feed everybody on the planet. Like, we actually could prevent those deaths. And I said, why is it that somehow these 150 people who were wealthy enough to be going between Madrid and the Canary Islands are so much more worthy of prayer, of moments of silence, of shock? It's not that we shouldn't worry about them, but it's why only them? How many others have died since that plane crash? How many are dying today, tomorrow, the next day? And why aren't we worried about them? Because their deaths I actually could prevent. And the irony of it was just actually too much for me even to be able to sit with at that point, of people coming to prayer, coming to silence, coming to pujas, in honor of those who had passed away, then going out and eating a steak dinner, pulling the food out of the mouths of children whose deaths could have been prevented. But once I came out of my own judgment and my own difficulty with that, what it became so clear is, well, these 150 people, they could have been me. And that's the difference, and that's why I mention it here. This is the discrimination. It's not that we say, I'll only serve white people. Most of us are beyond that. Most of us are beyond saying, well, I'm only going to serve people of my religion. But when you look at the stuff that really stops us in our tracks, it's the stuff where it could have been me. Could have been me in the Twin Towers. Could have been me in the London Underground. But chances are none of us is going to die of hunger in this life. That couldn't be me. And so when we talk about giving and serving without discrimination, it's not just on the superficial level of religion and race. It's beyond all of those borders. Can I serve those and care for those who aren't just like me, who couldn't just be like me until my spiritual awareness and awakening is so great that the world is me? But if I'm still in this perspective, can I extend the same deep compassion to them? And a compassion that's so deep that it prevents me from acting in such a way that it harms them. If I throw my back out and I've got to sit down in a chair, you can be pretty sure that I'm going to take the full 10 or 15 minutes it's going to take me to, do it exactly in the way I need to so that I don't hurt my back, right? Because it's my back, it hurts. And if you say to me, sit quicker, I'm still not going to do it. Because the instinct to protect myself is so strong to make sure that I don't hurt. Can I have such a connection, such a compassion, like Ganga, for all, that I can't engage in behaviors that hurt the same way that long before I go to sit down, my brain is already figuring out which way I've got to approach that couch or chair to make sure that I can do it safely and comfortably. Can I live like that? And the other thing that Ganga teaches us, there's so much, but I'll just share one more, is to just keep flowing. We're doing all of this work of cleaning Ganga and protecting Ganga, serving Ganga. I don't say saving Ganga because Ganga saves us. There's nothing we can do to save Ganga. Ganga's going to be there, whether she's in the form of the river, whether we're smart enough to keep her in that form, or she goes back to being the form of just the goddess. Ganga's there. It's ourselves we have to save. But she keeps flowing, regardless of what we do, regardless of how we treat her. And for most of us in our lives, when things don't go right, when the world is not responding the way that we feel it should, we stagnate. Yeah, I've been trying and trying and trying, but nothing's happening. Forget it. We stagnate. We putrefy, literally in our own hearts. The wounds that we hold on to, the unfulfilled expectations that we hold on to. It literally festers within us, physically causing disease, emotionally just destroying us, eating us away. And Ganga reminds us, just keep flowing. We always say Ganga, people talk about how to clean Ganga. The truth is, all you've got to do to clean Ganga is stop polluting her. Really, she's so forgiving that I dump something in her this moment and 5 seconds later it is gone from here. Eventually it'll even be gone out into the ocean. Every monsoon, she wipes away all of it, even that I've dumped on her banks. Every monsoon, she's new. We don't have to clean. We just have to prevent ourselves from repolluting. But that teaching of forgiving and forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. Puja Swamiji always says, people ask, well, how long do I have to keep doing it? Like, how long do I have to be the martyr in the family? How long do I have to be the one who always says sorry? And he says, I don't hear Ganga asking that. He says, I don't hear Ganga saying, and exactly how many monsoons do I have to just keep replenishing myself while these idiots keep polluting me? What's the point, right? They're just going to pollute me again. Give me a break. Forget it. I'm not going to flow this monsoon. No matter what we do, she keeps flowing. Just keeps flowing, keeps flowing, keeps flowing. And lastly, on a beautiful metaphoric level of that, water gets stale or bad, putrefied, literally, from a bacterial standpoint, when it's still. It's still water. That's why when you're trying to prevent illnesses, they always say, make sure you don't have standing bodies of water, still water. That's where disease grows. But now here's what's interesting. Ganga, if you take water from Ganga and you save it, even now it's sitting in my glass, it's sitting in a jar. The essence of Ganga is to flow. So even though the molecules of H2O are no longer flowing, that water will never go bad. Chemically, they've done it in petri dishes. There is something about Ganga water, and this goes back, Paramahansa Yoganandaji was writing about this. So this goes back since as long as science has been putting things in petri dishes and testing it. So yeah, the molecules flow, but our essence also flows, which we learn also. We may say, yeah, it's okay, but then we go and we slam the door in such a way. Okay, so we haven't yelled, we haven't hit, we haven't gotten angry. We think, yeah, I've forgiven, I've moved on. But on our way out, we slam the door in such a way, or we make a face in such a way, or we close our heart in such a way, that even though our outer form has theoretically let it go and flowed, inside I'm still holding on. And Ganga teaches us the outer part keeps flowing and the essence. Even you bottle up that water, her essence keeps flowing. Never putrefies. Never goes bad.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Alaya, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. According to a lot of different philosophies, but most recently sort of codified in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we talk about, as humans, really what we need. And the core needs are the needs of the body. I need not to have an empty, grumbling, cramping, painful stomach from hunger. I need not to be out in the cold without a sweater or a shawl or a jacket or shelter. I need not to be really, really sick and in physical pain without remedy. And yet, there are lots of beautiful, inspiring stories of people. Sounds like your grandparents, or some of them, who, despite not having those, are able to connect to a place within themselves that is so deep that it's entirely separate from the physical body. A place of happiness that is absolutely separate from that which is happening in my physical body. And usually two things make us able to access that. First, deep spiritual practice. Sages, saints, enlightened masters, absolutely they're there. I have seen Puja Swamiji over the last almost 21 years in an incredible variety of circumstances. Nothing phases him. He's connected to something, a well of something within that is absolutely separate from 48 hours of continual travel and no sleep, from lots and lots of different troubles and trials and turbulence and difficulties and challenges and whatnot. And the second is great, great, great trials and tribulations. Like the Holocaust, like concentration camps, that put you into a situation where there is nothing outside. If you have your life, you're better off than most. And we hear stories come out of these sorts of circumstances that are incredibly inspiring and that remind us, yes, here's what philosophy says, that we need these things. Here's how, and it's true for most of us. It's not that philosophy doesn't get it. It's true for most of us. I love watching even with myself. It's incredibly humbling. Most of the time, I feel deeply connected, deeply peaceful, deeply content. I get sick, running a fever, bronchitis, something going on, and suddenly it's like, why isn't anybody bringing me any soup? Little things. You think, wow, that's interesting. Here we've taken simply the temperature of the body, increased it not even that much, a few degrees. You take it from 98 to 102, 103, something like that, 4 or 5 degrees. And look how it changes the experience. Look how it changes the entire experience. So for most of us, this is true. If we were in a situation where we became homeless, if we were in a situation where we were hungry, not just for a meal, not just my lunch is late, but really hungry. And especially if we were in a situation where we couldn't feed our children. That's the stuff that steals our happiness. But then we have these beautiful examples who remind us over and over again, even in the face of all of that, even in the face of imminent death, forget just being cold, forget being hungry, forget not having shelter, you're also about to die. And the stories that come out, whether it's the Holocaust, whether it's refugees, and there's so many different examples that give us these heroes that remind us what the sages and the saints and the rishis keep telling us, which is the source is within. But it takes very, very special people in the absolute absence of any level of safety or security physically to still be able to access that type of bliss, that type of peace.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International, Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. What to do when that which makes you happy isn't that which is your Dharma. Well, the truth is, going against your Dharma is not going to keep you happy for very long. This is what we talk about, the greater happiness, the deeper happiness, or the momentary happiness. So, let's say I'm married. Suddenly I'm overcome with lust. I want to cheat on my husband. Now I'm in conflict. That which is going to make me happy for the next 20 minutes is against my Dharma. My Dharma says be loyal. My impulses say, oh, but that would make me so happy right now. But an hour from now, 2 hours from now, I'm not going to be happy. Doesn't mean my physical body wouldn't have enjoyed it while it lasted. But that's not real happiness. Has anybody here ever eaten too much chocolate? Too many cookies, too many sweets, right? You're happy while it's going on. You're not so happy a few hours later. So it's not about happiness or unhappiness. It's about intelligence. I should have the intelligence to understand that the fulfillment of my sensory desires is the absolute shallowest level of happiness. It's so momentary. It's so fleeting. And it almost always, not always, but it almost always carries with it an impending unhappiness. The wave that goes up has to come down. So even if the unhappiness isn't caused by now my husband wanting a divorce or just me being overwrought with guilt that I can't even sleep at night or an upset stomach from the chocolate, even if it's not that, if my happiness was dependent on something so superficial, well, I've ridden it like a wave that goes up. But we all know the law of physics, which is everything that goes up has to come down. So now I've come down not because something has happened, but simply because that which was making me happy is over. Then I come down. So Dharma. The root of the word Dharma is Dri. Dri means that which holds us together. That which binds us, the glue, whether it's my life, my person, or my society. If I'm going against my Dharma, literally, we will fall apart. If Dharma is what holds us together, going against my Dharma means we will fall apart. Now, that doesn't sound very happy to me for very long. And so we make a decision that says, okay, in this moment, yeah, that sounds really good. Whether it's the affair, whether it's the chocolate cake, whether it's getting drunk, whether it's driving really, really, really dangerously fast, whatever it is, that chances are going to end with a lot of unhappiness. That's the most superficial level of happiness. The point of a spiritual path is we go deep. I mean, the reason you're sitting here instead of being out at Pizza Hut is on some level there's some part of you that is longing for a happiness other than just a cheese pizza. And that's what you're here for. The question is, how deep can I go? So we go from superficial happiness to then we go to happiness that comes from doing the right thing. Doing the right thing makes me happy. There's a lot of chocolate cake here. I really would like to eat it all, but there's 10 people around me. I know I should share. I do share. I may not feel happy in that moment where my tongue is craving more. But later on, I feel so happy that I was able to make the right decision. Every time we overcome the urge to do something that we know isn't right, that's just going to give us momentary happiness, we have a much longer lasting happiness. Every time. When we help people, when we sacrifice, when we do something for others, the joy that stays with us from having donated money lasts a lot longer than the joy that stays with us from having taken it and gone shopping. So, following our Dharma is a source of happiness, but, and I'll end here, it's not always fun. There's a story that I actually was just telling earlier today about a saint who was having a bath in the river. And as he's having a bath in the river, he notices a scorpion which is drowning. And he picks up the scorpion to save it, and the scorpion stings him. So as the scorpion stings him, he flings his arm, and the scorpion falls back in the water, starts to drown again. Again, he goes to pick it up to save it. Again, it stings him. He flings his hand. The scorpion falls down in the water. This goes on several times. Saint keeps trying to save it. Scorpion keeps stinging him. He keeps flinging his hand in pain. The scorpion keeps falling down. A man sitting on the banks is watching this and says, "Baba, give it up. Let him die. He's just going to keep stinging you." And the saint says, "He stings me because it is his dharma to sting. It is my dharma to save. If he's not leaving his dharma, why should I leave my dharma?" So fulfilling our dharma is not always some great romantic, heroic role. Sometimes it's getting stung over and over and over again because we're fulfilling our dharma. But we may be in the midst of a karmic interaction with someone or something who's stinging us. But that doesn't mean we leave our dharma. There's been no promise that if you fulfill your dharma, you're always going to have fun. Or if you fulfill your dharma, your life's always going to feel really good. But what Lord Krishna reminds us in the Bhagavad Gita is, even dying on the battlefield in the fulfillment of your dharma is 1,000,000 times better than living forever but not fulfilling your dharma, or running after someone else's dharma. So there's no guarantee anywhere that my dharma is going to be fun, or it's going to be romantic, or it's going to always feel good. But we do it because it holds us together. And ultimately, if you're not held together, you don't have even a chance of happiness.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. What's the difference between allowance, acceptance, and surrender? What's the difference between allowance, acceptance, and surrender? Okay. Well, the concept of allowance implies that we might have a choice. Right? I mean, if I don't allow, then what? The problem with that concept is that we don't actually have much of a choice. What we have a choice over is my response to what happens, not over actually what's happening. So one way to think about it is, there's a tsunami coming. I'm on the beach. Tsunami's coming. I decide I'm not going to allow this tsunami to happen. So I hold up a literal or metaphoric stop sign. Tsunami doesn't care. Right? I mean, the fact that I happen to have a stop sign in my hand is utterly irrelevant. The tsunami's going to hit. Whether I have a stop sign in my hand, a go sign in my hand, or no sign in my hand. In life, that which happens is happening for a reason. Doesn't mean everything feels good. Doesn't mean everything feels nice. Doesn't mean everything is how, if we were in charge of the world, we would make it. But the most simple reason has to do with the laws of nature. The law of karma, of course, is one of the laws of nature. There's other laws of nature. Everything that goes up has to come down, also a law of nature. There's a lot of laws of nature that things are subject to. This body is going to degenerate. Law of nature. I will not allow myself to get old. Sorry. The body is going to do its thing. My refusal to allow the matter of the body to develop wrinkles, to droop, my refusal to allow the hair to turn gray, it's a joke. Doesn't work. Nobody cares whether I'm going to allow it to happen or not allow it to happen. The only things that we think we have control over are a few people in our lives. So your children, I do not allow you to go to the party. Fine, you have control over that. Usually. Depending on how audacious your children may be. Allowance we do simply when we recognize that there really is no other option. Allowance is not some great spiritual feat. It's an important first step. You're not going to get very far on your spiritual path by not allowing things. Because what you're going to find is that you're banging your head against wall after wall after wall. So we begin by saying, okay, I'll allow the laws of nature to happen. Okay, tsunami, I'm going to allow you to come. It's a little salve that the ego needs as it's beginning to be dismantled. It gives us just a little bit of that drama of control. Little bit of that myth of control. Okay, I've allowed it to happen. I'm allowing myself to age. Really. But see, as we embark, it's a little bit, the ego feels a little bit better, as though I'm somehow permitting nature to take its course. Acceptance, then, is another step. Acceptance is not just, I'm going to allow nature to happen as though I actually had an alternative. Acceptance is, I'm going to stop fighting not just externally against it, not just the stop sign in my hand at the tsunami, but I'm going to stop the internal fight against it. I'm going to stop telling myself that it shouldn't happen. Acceptance says not just it's going to happen and there's nothing I can do about it, so therefore I will allow it. But it's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. And therefore it must be happening for a reason. And that reason must have goodness as the highest goal. Now again, goodness does not mean right now it feels good. Goodness doesn't mean I'm enjoying this. But goodness means in the broadest picture, if I had the ability to step far enough back to see the whole tapestry, not only of my life, but the whole tapestry of all of creation, that my life was just one thread woven in, that if I could get a big enough view, I would say, good. And in that awareness, acceptance starts to blossom. Okay, may not feel good right now, but I have faith. Acceptance requires a level of faith. And again, like I said on the banks of Ganga, and like we say all the time, doesn't matter what you have faith in. Doesn't matter what you call it. Doesn't matter if there's a form or no form. But the simple awareness that there is something higher. There is something deeper. There is something that runs through all of us. That when we connect to each other, it's not just physical body to physical body. The awareness that if you've ever had what you could call a soul-to-soul connection with another person, with an animal, with a tree, with a sunset, if you've ever had that connection with anything on earth, you're aware of the fact that there is something other than just the physical body. And that awareness of something that is there is an awareness of something that has an intelligence. Doesn't mean that a white-bearded male god with a staff is sitting up there making choices and doing good and bad and waving a wand. For some, that may be the image. But there's an infinite number of possible other alternatives for what that capital P planner or capital K knower might be like. Could just be essence. Could just be the presence of knowing. Maybe there isn't a knower. Maybe it's just knowing. Maybe it's just intelligence. But whatever it is, acceptance requires a faith in something that is higher, that is deeper, that is bigger. And an awareness that that something is intelligent and is kind. And that if I could just have a far away enough view, I would be able to see what it means. So the tsunami is coming. The aging is coming. The waves of life come. I allow them because, of course, I have no choice. And I accept them because I have an awareness that they are happening for a reason. And that my goal in life, my highest goal, is not about how strong can my stop sign be, but about how much can I grow, learn, unfold, awaken, accept the invitation, show up for the party. Whatever metaphor works for you, that life has offered me. And that's my highest goal. And therefore I have to accept that which is happening to get me there as part of the invitation, as part of my unfolding. Then we move into surrender. Surrender is acceptance in a broad package. So acceptance says, I accept that I've just lost my job or lost a loved one or had something bad happen. Because, of course, nobody struggles with acceptance of the good things. You don't find people showing up at therapy or coming to, get advice saying, I just can't accept how happy I am. I don't know. Can you help me? I'm having such a hard time accepting. I've fallen in love. I'm going to get married. It's so great. I just found the most wonderful job. Everything's falling into place. I just can't accept it. Can you help? So we, of course, have to accept the good things as well. It's just that that's not such a challenge. The challenge comes with the stuff that doesn't feel so good. So acceptance is those things on an individual level. I accept that this has happened. I'm going to stop fighting it inside. I'm going to stop pretending that if I just squeeze my eyes tightly closed enough, that person won't really be dead. Or if I just squeeze my eyes tightly enough, the world will be how I want it to be when I open them. If I just squeeze my eyes tightly enough, I'm going to see in front of me that which I want to see, not that which I saw before I closed my eyes. Acceptance is I'm going to have my eyes wide open. Whatever is there, I'm going to see it. I'm not going to pretend it's not there. I'm not going to squeeze my eyes shut tight. And I'm going to try to understand why it's there in my life, what I'm supposed to learn from it, how it's supposed to make me unfold. Surrender takes that to a new level. So when we go from allowance to acceptance to surrender, we're moving deeper. Surrender is, thy will be done. Whether it's this moment, that moment. Surrender says, I'm tired of having this really, really rigid tree trunk. Because where I live, it's really windy. And every time the wind comes, I've got to grab on so hard to the dirt with my roots that it's all I can do to keep myself from being knocked over. And instead, I'd really like to have the fluidity of a blade of grass, so that when the wind comes, I could just bend. And then I wouldn't have to spend every minute of my life holding on just to stay alive. It's sadly how most of us live. There's a beautiful parable of a man who was holding on to a rope for dear life, and both of his hands, of course, because if he lets go, he's going to fall and plummet to his death. So he's holding on to the rope. And he hears an angel, and the angel says, let go. He says, I can't let go. If I let go, I'm gonna fall, I'll die. It's such a long way down. And the angel says, well, just let go with one finger. And she's got such a sweet voice, and he says, okay. So he lets go with one finger. The other 9 are still able to hold on. But slowly, this intoxicatingly angelic, lulling angel gets him to let go finger by finger until he's holding on with only one finger left. And the angel says, let go. And he says, now I can't. I've listened to you for all of these other fingers. Somehow, magically, one finger is keeping me on this rope, keeping me alive. But now I know if I let go, I'm absolutely going to fall. No more of your lulling, sweet voice. I'm not going to listen. And she says, just let go. You won't fall. Just let go. And somehow, through some just grace, surrender, he lets go, fully prepared to plummet to his death. And he finds he doesn't go anywhere. And he looks down and notices he's standing on the earth. And I love that parable because it's so true for so many of us. We hold on literally with a death grip to so much in life, feeling literally as though if I let go, I will die. Without realizing, but we're being held, but we're standing on solid ground, but the earth is supporting us. And so surrender says not just, okay, I accept this horrible thing that happened in my life, or I accept this moment in my life, this situation, this circumstance. I accept that I'm aging. I accept the tsunami's coming. Again, like I really had a choice. But surrender says, I don't want to hold on to that rope with a death grip anymore. I realize I'm standing on solid ground. I realize you're holding me. I realize I'm being cared for. I realize you know. And I'm going to let go. So that I can be like the blade of grass that's able to just bend with the wind. So that I can live my life. Rather than being like the tree with the strong trunk in a windy place that is constantly having to grip and grasp beneath with its roots. So that's the full surrender that says, okay, God, I'm in your hands. There's a beautiful Hindi saying that I'll end this question with. I'll translate it in English, but for those of you who can benefit from the fact that it sounds much better in Hindi than in English, I'll give it to you in Hindi first. And it says, "Jukta to wo hai, jisme jaan hoti hai. Akkad to murde ke pachan hote hai." And what it means is, when you bend, it's a sign that you're alive. Those who bend are alive. The only thing that doesn't bend is a corpse. So if you are inflexible, unable to bend, you're as good as a corpse. If you're alive, you have to bend. This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time on OMTimes Radio.